I want you to move from overwhelmed by information to confident in what really matters. I want to help you move from being unsure towards direction and purpose in your healthcare. I want to introduce you to health experts. I want to let you in on tough conversations on women's health. I want to give you a place where you can lean in and learn how to take care of yourself. Let's transform your health. Let's get clear on your goals. This is Women's Health Unplugged. I'm your host, Dr. Jordan Robertson, Naturopathic doctor. This week's episode of Women's Health Unplugged is sponsored by our women's health program, The Wild Collective. At our clinic in Burlington, Ontario, we offer two ways to connect with our women's health community program and health education, where you can join us either in person or online for a series of learning, community connection, and facilitated content with our naturopathic doctors to help you pursue your health goals. If you have health goals for this fall, I encourage you to look at our program. We help women transform their health by helping them create and execute on all of their health goals while teaching them everything they need to know about their bodies, their hormones, and their health. Click the link in today's show notes to learn more, as spaces are limited and we only accept 20 women for our online program and 10 women for our VIP in-person experience. This course is going to transform the way you think about your health and help you get the support and connection and community you need to actually achieve your goals. Welcome to another episode of Women's Health Unplugged. I am Dr. Jordan Robertson. I'm a naturopathic doctor in Ontario, and I am the host of this show. Today, I am super excited to be joined by a not only Olympian, but a naturopathic doctor in training, Natalie Wideman. Natalie was on the bronze medal winning softball team that just came home from the Tokyo Olympics. And I'm so excited to have this conversation with her about chasing her dreams, about being an absolute role model, not just for the younger generation of athletes coming up beneath her, but really for all women who want to pursue their dreams in sport. Natalie, thank you so much for spending time with me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to chat.
So before, I want you to give us kind of your story and background. But before that, I want to tell a little bit of a story on my end. So I love Instagram. So we're just going to start there. I love Instagram. I have connected with some wonderful and amazing humans on Instagram over the last 5 years. And a couple of years ago, this amazing Olympian or Olympian to be started following me on Instagram. And I was like, I don't know how this girl found me, but she is an absolute badass. I love all of the things that she posts, all the things she stands for, and I'm going to watch her Olympic journey over the next couple of years. And then this woman reaches out to me and asks if she could, when she's finished her Olympic journey, preceptor with me as a clinician in my clinic. And I realized, Natalie, like when I started connecting with you on Instagram, I had no idea that you were pursuing a career as a naturopathic doctor. I just thought you were this like amazing, badass athlete who somehow, for some reason, had started following me. And I felt so like fortunate for that. And then realized afterwards that you're actually becoming an ND, and part of why you followed me was not because I am an athlete or particularly cool. It's because you're going to be a naturopathic doctor. And I've had so much fun following your journey towards the Olympics, and even like, you know, checking in every day while you were at the Olympics. So that's my little backstory on how I've been connected to you.
Meanwhile, I was fangirling you over your naturopathic success and what you're doing in that world. So it goes both ways.
It goes both ways. And we share the same birthday. So this is like a total match here. So I would love if you could kind of walk us through your journey, because you know, I think one of the coolest parts of the Olympics is hearing the backstory of the people and what it took for them, the level of sacrifice and support and dedication. I think that's one of the emotional draws we have to watching the Olympics. I know with my background in curling, like I always loved hearing people's backstory for what it took for them to get to where they were in their athletic career. Can you like walk us through like how did you get here, right? Like walk us through like young Natalie playing softball and then Natalie the Olympian.
All right. So young Natalie playing softball was watching my brothers play baseball. I have two older brothers that are older and they played baseball. And I kind of looked at them, you guys are doing that. I can do it way better. So I started playing with them and I would throw the ball around. They would throw the ball at me way too hard and try to tell me to figure out how to catch it. So I learned pretty quickly. I ended up starting playing softball with the girls. I had my first experience watching the women's national team in British Columbia when I was about 11, which was really, really cool for me. And I looked at my mom and I said, I'm going to do that. Like, I love what they're doing. This is so cool. They have Canada across their chest, blah, 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 blah. And my mom said, okay, like that's going to take a lot of work. And I'm like, okay, I'm a type A overachiever. Like, what does it take? Let's go. So I kind of threw myself out there. I was playing a lot of sports, but I knew that was really important to me to kind of be diverse and do a bunch of things. Starting from that point on, from when I was about 11, I knew that the end goal was Team Canada. So it was all about working from there. I went to my first junior women's national team when I was in grade 8, which was like way younger than everyone else. But I wanted to get my feet wet and I wanted to fail and see what it took to be at that level. So that was a really cool, humbling experience to learn from. I got my first opportunity with the junior women's national team when I was in grade 11. I got to start traveling with them. I went to Colombia and South Africa and all these amazing places with like really cool friends. Unfortunately, after 2008, softball was taken out of the Olympics, which was heartbreaking because my goal was to be an Olympian. That is the top level of softball and of most sport is to play at the Olympics. After that had occurred, I knew that I still wanted to represent Canada on the senior women's national team. I knew that there were still world championships and Pan American Games. So I really continued my pursuit with that goal, knowing that I might get heartbroken in terms of the Olympics continually being out moving forward. I had two different opportunities in 2012 and 2016 where they were out again and again. So there were a lot of tears over that time frame. And then I think it was in 2016, it was finally announced and voted back in for 2020. And our team was in a really, really good place. We were doing well. We were getting better, but we were all juggling a lot of things. Being an athlete with the national team when it's not in the Olympics is not a full-time job whatsoever. We had girls that were coaching in college in the NCAA. We had girls like myself that were pursuing their degrees. We had girls that were full-time nurses, but also playing. So there were a lot of things going on in everyone's lives. And we made a collective decision as a unit, but also individually to put things on hold and go all out for this and leave it on the table, knowing that this could be our one and only shot at representing Canada for softball at the Olympics, which was a pretty bold move and required a lot of guts and a lot of support with my family and my friends with this decision.
It's so brave, right? Like that's really what it is. That's such a brave decision to pursue your dreams. Like what was going through your head when you had to, for you, like as an individual, maybe we'll back up and talk about your team in a second, but like for you as an individual, like part of what you had to put down was your pursuit of like academics.
Yeah, it was tough. I remember I was, I think 2 weeks in to my third year, and I kind of had this aha moment when I was studying, and then I had to kind of stop studying and go to practice for something. I'm like, why am I doing both of these things at not full capacity? And my heart kind of stopped. And I said, okay, is putting naturopathic medicine on hold an option right now? If I ask or talk to the school about quote unquote leave of absence to pursue this crazy out there bold dream, will they be willing to wait for me? I know there's so many other students in the program that are hardworking and getting good grades and really doing a great job at what they're doing. And I'm like, I don't know if they will make bend the rules for me in this instance. And I'm like, do I want to do that? Do I want to push my career starting another X amount of years back? And maybe that means pushing my family life back. Like there were so many things to consider. And I was like, I got to do it. I've been dreaming of this since I was 11. Like I can't not give it 120% moving forward, knowing that I've been wanting this and working towards this for so long.
And what was the reaction of the people around you, right? Because as you're telling this story, I'm immediately thinking about, I mean, we don't all get the opportunity to go to the Olympics, but I think that there is often these sort of like, forks in the road where women may have this opportunity to pursue the crazy dream that they have versus kind of stay on the path that you're, I'm going to say in air quotes, like supposed to be on, right? You go to school, then you go to other school, and then you go to other school in our case. And then you start your family. Then you do like, there is this like, expectation, I think, especially for high performing academic women, that there is this path that you follow down. I immediately go to like, you must have faced some questions, I'm going to say maybe criticism or what were the naysayers saying at that time?
I struggle with that because I feel like I was so focused on the people around me that had my back. My parents were like, absolutely do it. Whatever you need, we're here. My husband was the same way. He was like, yeah, go do it. Like, be a badass. Go for it. Let's go. Like, you're made for this. You want this. If you're going to be invested, like he knows I'm 100% with it. I mean, growing up, there was always people saying, you're too short. I'm 5'3". Okay. Like, I don't care. Or like, what if you put school on hold and then you don't even make it? Because with Team Canada, you have to continuously retry out every year. Or what if you do all of this, you put it on hold, they don't let you come back, and you guys don't qualify? Because we still had to go into a qualifying tournament in 2019. And all I could think is like, keep doubting us, like keep fire or like fueling the fire. You're just helping our cause, really. So that was cool to use it. I didn't listen to it as much as the good stuff though.
That's amazing. And it's, I mean, sometimes you can put those like negative thoughts in your like backpack and use it as fuel to the fire, right? I think that that's probably speaks like tremendously around your character, but also like the level of support that you had around you, that maybe those were just whispers in the background compared to the level of support that it sounds like you were receiving from like your circle sounds so strong.
Yeah. Yeah. Even my brothers were like, you got to do this. Like, you got to. They both represented Canada with Team Canada baseball, and they never had the opportunity to be named to an Olympic team. My one brother qualified for the Olympics with Team Canada, but never got to finish the job per se with the team. So he was like, this is what we've all been dreaming for. Like, we've got your back. Like, go for it. And I was like, whoa. My brothers are like not emotional people whatsoever. So that was huge. I was like, they love me.
That's amazing. And what a like powerfully like sport driven family you come from.
Yeah, I feel very fortunate. My parents not so athletic, but my my brothers and I pretty athletic.
And so tell me, Natalie, like as you were telling that story of like how involved you got and how dedicated you were from such a young age, did you ever feel like you were missing out on anything as part of like growing up as an adolescent or in your 20s?
Um, my teammates and I always have this discussion because we say in different speaking engagements, well, we had to make a lot of sacrifices. But that word makes it seem like we missed out on things, but we got to do things that other people did not get to do. I got to hang out with some of my best friends every summer, and I was like traveling around the world. Like, not many people can say that. Yeah, there were parties in high school I missed. There were hangouts after school when I was going to practice. There was things like that yeah, maybe I would have enjoyed it, but I also got so much more out of the sport, and I knew what I was working towards, and that was okay with me. So I was okay with it.
It's funny because I can see like I'm thinking about your like the average person or the average woman doesn't always see their own story in an Olympian story, right? It's like we put that, level of achievement and dedication and all of that on this, massive pedestal, which it absolutely deserves. But even when I'm hearing you talk, like I hear the stories of like my patients or other women who have to think about achieving their own goals in those same ways, right? And we do often think like if someone's working towards a goal, we often talk about all the sacrifices that they're making to achieve that goal and not the opportunities that they have while they're pursuing it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, there were some moments that were like, oh, like I wish I could have done that. But like not many people can say that they got to do the things I got to do. So I don't want to pigeonhole them into a sacrifice. They were just my choices. And I
Right.
got some really cool outcomes because of those choices.
Yeah, it's so cool. And even I'm thinking like, when you say it in that way, like, well, I missed a few parties. Like, I know me as a listener, right? We're going like, well, obviously don't go to the party and train for the Olympics, right?
I got to party after the Olympics,
Yeah,
guys.
that's but so often, like even to like relate it back to like our, average Jane weekend warrior listener, sometimes we're putting the party and pursuing your goals like on a very level playing field when that one barbecue, that one weekend, that one thing, when we look at it in your story, it's so easy to say the party's stupid, right? Like don't do the party, pursue your dreams.
Mhm.
And yet so many of my women have a hard time saying no to the thing that is like actually holding them back, right? Like those small little insignificant moments, we'll call them parties, right?
Yeah.
Versus like pursuing what their like bigger, maybe health goals or maybe otherwise goals actually are. I don't know if they would look at it in the same way, right? Like the party, I think like has this relative like high value in their life when we can easily look at it in your story and go like, no, the party's dumb, like don't go. But I don't know if every woman has the ability to say, like, to look inside of her own story and be like, well, what are those things that I see as a sacrifice, which actually are just barriers to me, like achieving my big goals?
Yeah, I think it's so helpful. Like growing up, it was like, okay, what do I want long term? Okay, what's the step today that's going to get me there? Like that was my thought process from a very young age, and it still is. And like sometimes the thought process is I need to go to the barbecue to like stay sane or relax. But the majority of the time, my discipline and uh, my inner knowing to get me to that final goal that I desperately want is the other step, to go to training when it's hard, to eat the right meal that's like going to fuel me, like all these things, the little things that add up.
Where did all that come from, right? Like where do you feel like that dedication came from? Like I'm just thinking like, being alone in a gym doing squats 3 years before the Olympics, right? That takes a special kind of person and a special kind of like dedication in order to show up for yourself like that every day. Like what were your strategies to make that happen?
I think foundationally, I think my mom and my dad played a big role in that. Like, if you're gonna do something, you're gonna do it right. How you do anything is how you do everything. So waking up, like I'm at the gym, I'm not gonna give 50% right now. Like I have 6 reps and I have 3 sets of them. And how are you going to maximize those 3 sets? Because you said you were gonna do this, so you better do it to your like fullest capacity. On the other side of things, our team and our team dynamic was unmatchable. These women, I consider my family to this day. And 40 years from now, if there's a bar fight, like I will stand up to them. Like that's just the kind of vibe we have. Like we got each other's back through anything. And especially during the pandemic when we were all separated and we couldn't always be together, utilizing each other's adrenaline and energy and vibes, we really had to make sure that we were giving it our all because we knew that our other people in British Columbia, in Florida, in Halifax, they were giving their all when they showed up to do those little things. So we owed it to one another, and we put a lot of time into our culture and our relationships over the last couple of years. So building all of that through vulnerability and through trust building and communication led to the moments in the gym when I didn't want to do X, Y, or Z to be, I'm doing it for Victoria Hayward. I'm doing it for Janet that doesn't want to do it. She did it yesterday. Like I'm doing it for those people because they deserve my best.
I can't think of something that makes me even like more emotional at the Olympics than watching the women team sports. So like one like soccer, that is a guaranteed cry for me
Oh,
to
every
watch, right? Like there I'm watching those like I'm crying like the moment that, whistle goes or whatever and they're jumping and yelling and like bawling. And it's not just over that win, right? Like I'm not a particular soccer fan. I don't understand the game very well, and but it is a guaranteed like cry fest for me over their like team experience, right? And just how friggin' happy they are for each other, and the like miles they've ran together in order to get to that moment. And it's the same for your team sport. I am like, anytime I see a female team win a thing, I cry. And I think part of that is like, I just am so, I don't even know what the right word is. Like, I love that camaraderie and that family unit of a team, like so deeply, that I wish that all women had that experience as they pursued their dream.
Yeah, for sure. Like sport has given me so much in terms of how to work with people that aren't usually your people, but you make it work, and you mold one another into a unit that works to the best of the ability with the strengths that everyone brings to the table, and you empower those strengths of those around you to maximize what you have as a unit. There are girls on our team that if we weren't on that team, we may not have been best friends. But let me tell you, on the field, there's no doubt in my mind that every single one of them would have had my back and vice versa, because we had just worked on it so much and we respected everyone and what they brought to the table, even though they were very, very different things for each individual. And I wish that women could see that and use that within the workplace and within other team dynamics within life.
Right. Because I think the stereotype is if we pile 20, 25 women into a room and they have to live there together for 4 years, that it's going to get catty.
Yeah.
Right. Like I think, and maybe there's moments, but
Yeah,
I think
there's
that's the
moments.
stereotype, right? Is that if we put women in a room together under pressure, that it's going to blow up. And I think that assumption, we let those assumptions kind of like be pervasive in the workplace too, right? It's like, ooh, we need to get some male energy in this room because there's too many women working in this room. But watching female team sports, I think is where probably we all need to move towards, right? Is that I want that culture to shift where women can like see the strengths in each other, treat each other like family, and support each other with that level of like dedication.
And excel under pressure. Like what our team worked on really, really tough is not working well together when things are going well, working well together when things are really, really tough and things are really, really tense. How do we excel when everyone else may crumble when things are getting hard? So I think that's somewhere that I would love to see women go in the workplace moving forward, is not and like turning against one another, but like, okay, like this is where we're going to shine. This is a privilege to be under pressure right now. Like, let's move forward.
And can you give us some strategies there? Like
Yeah.
what
I mean, I think that's where our team connection and like love. We always joked we had a core value, and we had core values, and we had discussed them over the years because they shifted. And one year, someone said, "I think our core value is love." Someone's like, "No." And then this year, we're like, "It's totally love. Love's gonna get us through." And it was like very cheesy, but when things got really tough, like we would look at one another and be like, "I love you. Like we got this. Like let's go." And like, remember that time that we did X, Y, and Z and we thought we were going to die because it was really, really hard? Like, we got through it. Let's keep going. Like, just kind of having that connection, even if it was just eye contact. Hey, look at me. Chin up. Look at me. Okay, let's go. And just getting people on the same page and knowing that they weren't on an island, that we were doing this together. Even if the pitcher was holding the ball and she felt like the world was on her shoulders, look at me. I'm with you. You're not alone. You have the ball, but I'm right here. And so having one another's back and vocalizing that and affirming that was really huge.
Oh, I'm such a words of affirmation person.
Oh,
So that I
yeah.
feel like it would have gone really well for me. Yeah.
Totally tell my husband to use them more if you want.
Yeah, that's right. Everyone has a love language, and Natalie's his words, and so is
Tell me
mine.
I'm cute. Tell me I'm doing good. Like,
But I think that's an underutilized tool. Like whether or not that's your love language, I think there is a level of appreciation and love for your fellow woman that we don't often use like in our everyday vernacular, right? Like we don't tell women when we might say something like, oh, I love those jeans, or I love, well, no one wears jeans now. I love those leggings. I love the but it's that like that, you got this, like I love you. Like those pieces I think we probably could employ more. And when we watch the women in sport, and I think that's partly what gets me so emotional about it. I even was getting emotional as you were talking about your team's values there, is that you want that in your own life, right? As a woman, like you want that team experience just for life in general. And I think that's one of the things that makes the Olympics so emotional and so amazing, is it really like you're just achieving all the things that we kind of want as the average uh, woman out there, is that like level of dedication, being able to pursue your dreams like unapologetically. Because when you put down everything to pursue the Olympics, I feel like we go, yeah, makes sense. When we watch a woman put down something that, we've maybe she's destined to do, like in that order, get married, have a kid, all those things. If she puts all that down and tries to pursue something crazy, we all look at her like she's crazy,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I wish we had more of that like Olympic spirit just in the general everyday woman's life.
Yeah, and just allowing and promoting and supporting women to follow whatever that dream is, even if it seems crazy to you or I.
Right. Yeah, because who cares? Like, of course
Crazy's
she
good.
should pursue it, right? She's crazy not to.
Yeah. She's gonna dull her own flame if she doesn't.
Exactly. So tell me about like being a role model for the young women, because I know that's a big part of your why. And when I think about supporting women's health in general, some of our greatest research on adolescent women and their hormonal health is how much their hormonal health gets in the way of them pursuing sport. And this is something that I find, this is like when I think about the research that I'm interested in, this is something that I'm really interested in, is how things like menstrual cramps influence like sport time for women and those kinds of things. So I love that conversation around how we keep women in sport and what the value is for women to be in sport. And I know that's a big part of your why. Can you just like, what's your big message, and help me understand why that's so important to you?
I currently have goosebumps when you're talking about this. I take a lot of pride and I take a lot of responsibility in um, the younger generation looking up to me, whether that means how I hold myself on the field when things go wrong, how I show up when I don't necessarily want to show up, but I need to show up for the people around me. Um, I think softball and sport in general can cultivate such great characteristics and such great learning opportunities for women. How to be resilient, how to accept and embrace failure and want to fail in order to move forward, and how to be comfortable with the uncomfortable by getting constructive criticism, which can sometimes feel very intimidating. It's about putting yourself out there and doing things that you didn't necessarily know you could or wanted to do. There, there's just so much sport can give you, and it can create such powerful waves to push you forward in life, to be ready to deal with a team while you're a CEO, or working with whichever company you want to go into, or maybe being comfortable with following that crazy dream because you've done it before with whatever goals you have in sport. I just think there's so much good in it, and I want other women or other girls to want that by seeing someone like me or my teammates having a blast doing it and kind of dominating it and showing the good side of it, showing, oh, there's just so much good. I can't. I just want that for so many people so that I can continue building confidence in women and shifting the power to women a little bit more in the works.
Because whether or not women pursue sport like at a competitive level, it doesn't really matter, right? Like I think that's so often I hear women being like, oh, I'm not an athlete. And I've had these conversations on the podcast before. I'm like, yeah, you are. You go for a 5K run 3 days a week. Like, call it what it is, right? You're an athlete. And I think if we shift that a little bit, that narrative that women are only athletes if they go to the Olympics, that's not true. Then when women start to view themselves in that way, then they can actually gain those lessons from the work they're doing. All of a sudden they see their run as training for life, right? They see that like I ran and it started raining and I kept going. They see the similarities in this work project sucks, but I'm going to keep going. And so one of those conversations I love is like whether or not you're in competitive sport, the overlap between what you learn from using your body in that way and using your brain in that way to your regular life. I love the word you use there, resilience. Like when you say resiliency building, what do you mean?
I mean, if I set out a goal of, okay, I'm doing my 3 5Ks this week, and maybe things kind of hit the fan and I didn't really want to do it, but I said I was going to do it. So I'm going to do my 3Ks, regardless of how that looks, regardless if it's raining, regardless if I'm tired that day. Like I said, I'm going to do it, and I'm resilient enough to push through with my goals when it's tough. Or maybe it starts raining in the middle of your run and you're like, oh, I can stop now. But like, no, I can push through this. It's just rain. It's whatever story I'm going to make of it. I get to run in the rain now. I don't have to run in the rain. I get to run in the rain. Just like shifting your mindset and the story you're telling yourself.
I like that. I get to run in the rain. I love that your why is centered around, supporting women, and I like that, shifting the power to women. There was a lot of conversations around the like women in sport with this particular Olympics. I had a moment where I was like, was the Olympics not watching every social justice issue over the last 3 years? I feel like we did all of them wrong. Watching some, players be disqualified for various things, or, rules getting upheld that maybe are not particularly current when we look at social justice. Like, tell me what your experience of that was like, because and maybe I'm just uneducated, I felt like the softball, aside from maybe not getting into the Olympics at all and then getting in, were you unscathed from some of those sort of feminist challenges that were present at the Olympics, or what was your team's experience of that?
I think our team was very, very fortunate in the sense that we had made a decision as a unit that we were going to completely unwire ourselves from social media and be tunnel vision on what we were trying to do. So we were very much a closed unit. There was our 15 girls and our support staff, and that was all that mattered. And that was the only information we were listening to. That was the only outside information, was whatever our coaches told us. That was the only information we were getting. And I think that helped us stay focused and stay on the mission. Was our thing. We wanted to complete the mission this year. So we were mission focused. Nothing outside was coming into us, which was a good thing. But I mean, now getting back from the Olympics and being able to watch some of those stories on TV and whatnot, like you see the other teams that were affected by it, which is tough. But our team had a really, really fortunate run in that sense.
Yeah, that's, I mean, I think there's a couple of lessons in there, right? That like the noise of, all of those other pieces going on really couldn't get in the way of your particular mission, right? And I think we can see parallels with that, often, that we can get sucked into, those stories. I'm curious to see what comes from this Olympics as far as whether or not there is actual change in some of those areas, right? Like thinking about uniforms and thinking about like just representation, even that woman who, was maybe going to have to make a decision between breastfeeding her daughter and going to the Olympics. Like these challenges that women face that are barriers to them excelling in their sport they're not going to go away overnight. Like, what do you think is going to happen next?
I mean, I'm in the boat where I'm currently thinking about, okay, if the Olympics come back in 2028 for softball, because they're not in for 2024, I'm like, so do I have a kid before? Do I have one, and am I able to take the kid? Am I not going to be able to, like there's thoughts like that I'm just starting to think about. So I'm like, wow, like I need to be more invested in this and help promote moving the sport, or sport in general, in a good direction for females, because I think before that I didn't think of it as much because I was just so like mission focused. But now that I'm getting older and I may think about having a family, like I'm seeing those inequalities more now. So it's tough. Like my eyes are just being open to it all, and I need to really see what's next and how I can help with that.
One of my questions, then my very next question is going to be like, what's next for you?
So I'm hoping to go back to school. I chose not to do it this fall just based on, I think, going from 120% with the softball thing and then like 2 weeks and then going right back into school. I think it was going to be a little bit much. Thought I was going to maybe potentially burn out. So I'm just speaking to the school about starting the following fall, which will be nice. It'll give me a little bit of time to unwind and think about what's next. I'm really trying to be as open to whatever possibilities come my way. My theme has been yes. So you asked me to do the podcast? Yes. Like they want me to do an event at Sherway for Team Canada? Yes. Like let's go. So I'm just kind of going with the flow with that. I am currently an ambassador with Mizuno. I want to stay with them. There's chat about a possible pro league happening. I want to keep playing. I love softball, and I think I'll regret stopping if I stop now. I'm healthy. I still think I'm young. I'm able to do it. And my crazy next dream is to pursue the 2028 Olympics if it's in for Los Angeles. So I may be going round 2 with my bold moves.
I love it. I love it. And how old are you, Natalie? Remind me.
I'm 29, so I would be 36 come the 2028 Olympics. So wish you luck.
You are still young. I remember, so in our last birthday this past year, I remember wishing you happy birthday and saying that it was my birthday on Instagram. And I remember I was like, I'm 39. And you're like, I'm 29. And I was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm 29. And look at this cute 29-year-old, 10 years younger than me. And I remember having a moment where I was like, oh my God, for a minute there, I thought we might be the same age, but no, I am definitely a lot older than this wonderful woman. Tell me about naturopathic medicine as we start to finish up. I'm curious how that ties in with your sort of your values and life mission. Why did you choose naturopathic medicine?
When I was younger, I had a fair amount of anxiety, and which led to some pretty bad eczema. I had some bad skin growing up. Also found out it had a lot to do with my diet and what I was eating. And I remember taking every single cream you could think about, every single pill to try to stop it. Finally, my parents took me to see a naturopath, and I went on the elimination diet, which seemed crazy for a girl in grade 7. But my eczema was gone. And I was like, I'll eat like this for the rest of my life. If I don't have this eczema on my arms, like that's fine. Like I'll do it. And I just remember going throughout high school and even college and just thinking like, wow, if people just took a little bit more time with their patients and really got to the root problem instead of trying to have this quick fix with a cream you apply or with this that you ingest and you switch your what's going on the inside. People just slowed down a little bit and thought it through and put some work into it, because when you're patient with a naturopath, it requires you to have some discipline and have some want behind what's going on. Things can clear up, and there's a place for this, and I really appreciate that. And then also being an Olympic athlete, there are so many medicines and supplements you cannot take. So I remember working fairly closely with a naturopath to make sure that what I was taking that was natural was also allowed for me in terms of my anti-doping. And I just think there's a really big opportunity with athletes moving forward and naturopathy. And I really want to go for that gap and try to help as many athletes as I can moving forward.
I love it. That's amazing. And so as we sort of finish up, I'm so appreciative of your willingness to share all about your journey, Natalie. I think there's so many, I'm trying to tie parallels between the Olympian pursuing her crazy dream and that desire that I think the average woman has inside of her too, right? To realize that, like, if you think about like how your story got built there, it was like a dream from a young age, the support that you needed, the bravery to put to put something down in order to pursue it, the camaraderie and love that comes from working with a group of women towards a common goal. Like there's so many pieces there that I want for every woman, right? And that was when whether you had won bronze or not, like I wanted to have this conversation because I think there is so many parallels from watching women excel in sport to what we want. Like we can harness that drive and dedication to the mission in all women. We just have to make them feel that way about their mission.
Yeah, and they have to know what their mission is. And that's going to take a moment to stop and to actually think about it and not just go, go, go with your everyday things that you do. You're going to have to pause and you're going to have to listen and like have a gut check. What drives me to want to put things down to really go after something crazy? What's that go-to dream?
Right. And I just want that for every woman, right? To like be able to see themselves in your story, because I think it's possible, right? I think that it's possible to see those parallels between you pursuing your dreams and every woman pursuing hers. I think that's what's so cool about the Olympics. So thank you, number one. But I would love to know what sort of your lasting message is for our listeners and what you want them to walk away with, what your big why, and I know you've kind of articulated it already, but what your big sort of mission and purpose is for supporting women.
I think the biggest thing is, yes, you're going to have a mission and yes, you're going to have a goal, but it's not the end result. For me, it was a bronze, but that's not the thing that I take away from the crazy goal that I set and I took on and I followed that path. It's the journey that got me to that end result that is really the win for me. It's me learning how to be bold. It's me learning how to say no to certain things and yes to other things. It's me learning how to communicate better with different coaches, athletes, representatives. Like there's all these things on the journey that when I look back, I'm like, that's the win. And in the moment, maybe I didn't really recognize it, but because I made those choices along the way, I learned so much. And the bronze is just a bonus at the end. It's just this really pretty thing that I received for doing making all those courageous decisions over the years.
It's a very pretty thing.
I wish you were here so I could show you. Like you could feel it. It's all about the weight.
Last question. Any more Olympic tattoo plans?
No more Olympic tattoo plans, but other tattoo plans in general. That's my next bold move. We'll see.
That's your next bold move. Well, thank you. Natalie, thank you so much for spending time with me. I'm so excited that we actually got to chat in real life. I very much appreciate what you stand for, and I can't wait to see what you do next, because I just know that it's going to be great.
Thank you so much for having me today. I'm glad that I could fangirl you as well.
I hope you enjoyed that episode of Women's Health Unplugged. My goal is to help you feel more confident about your health. Please remember that what we talked about today in the podcast does not constitute medical advice, nor was a doctor-patient relationship formed. If you have questions about your healthcare or about how today's topic pertains to you, please take it up with your family doctor, your specialist, or someone on your health team.